Hello and welcome to the Sound Up Seattle podcast. You may notice that I'm angled a little differently than normal. That is because I sprained my ankle on Friday, and I hope you guys are ready for me to talk about it a bunch because that's all this podcast is going to be about, me, my ankle. John gets to listen as I talk about that, and maybe a little bit of Mariners on an 8-game win streak and the Storm on a 5-game loss streak. It's a lot of ups and downs in Seattle sports right now, but everybody is feeling up about these Mariners. John, anything to say before we get started on this one?
Yeah, getting the Seahawks back into it for the first time in a real way since the end of last season. So excited for that. Lots to discuss. Let's get to it.
Yeah, finally get to talk preseason NFL football. Feels great. I know we've been waiting all year for this preseason discussion. So let's get started with a little Coyote Picnic. All right, John, you wanted to talk Seahawks Raiders. I think we can open with that, and it mainly because the Mariners have been so good. I just want to talk about them for the meat of this podcast. So quick opener, let's talk Seahawks Raiders and kind of your initial thoughts going into that or coming out of that preseason game from last week.
Yeah, do not let the final score disturb you, the 23-23 final. This was a dominant first three quarters by the Seattle Seahawks. They really controlled the game, and then, until the third and fourth string started to circulate in, that's the only time the Raiders were able to put up some points. So my main takeaway from this game was it was quarterbacks past versus quarterbacks future. Obviously, well scheduled by the NFL, giving us the Geno rematch bright and early. But yeah, it was watching Geno in silver and black. I gotta say, he looks far too good in a Raiders jersey for me to feel comfortable. And then watching Drew Lock for most of the game, but then some nice Jalen Milroe minutes down the stretch to kind of give us a glimpse into what could be the next starting quarterback in Seattle, depending on how our boy from Minnesota does. A couple things I wanted to call out. One, after the game, there was that craziness with the Seahawk fan, with a disrespectful sign to Geno. Geno flipped him off. For some reason, that got a lot of run. Can you imagine being a Seahawks fan with so little class that you're going after Geno Smith? The guy was nothing but amazing for us, and then we turned him into a second-round pick, I think. Geno's tenure was phenomenal.
Yeah, there should be no complaints coming from any Seahawks fans. Nobody should be attacking Geno in any real way. The fact that that was going on is just speaks to. Was this in Vegas or no? This was at Lumen. What were we doing in Seattle?
Insane, man. I hope that guy got jumped because that's crazy. All the guy did was come in and be just like the ultimate leader of men for 3 years, take us to the playoff once, and then get nothing but disrespect. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Milroe for a second. Ended up playing a little over half the game just because, again, Seahawks were up 16-3, and they said, let's put Jalen in. And he looked pretty good out there. 6 for 10 for 60 yards passing, and then 3 for 38 on the ground, which I love to see, including a 27-yard explosive run. Getting it done with his legs, which is, the reason he got drafted. Obviously, this was preseason. Not only preseason, but second half preseason when the level on the field really reduces. But I thought that was pretty exciting from him.
Yeah, I think his mobility will prove to be at least very fun in these preseason games, and the Seahawks will really test him out, see how he does against at least NFL caliber players in these preseason games, because it's not like he's going to be the starter. Like, he's going to get very, very spot opportunities when it comes to the regular season. So we'll see what happens there. But I really liked what he was able to do on the ground. It was fun, too, to watch this defense. Ashton Jeanty, he's expected to be the Raiders' RB1, and he went, 3 carries for -1 yard. Really, it's a preseason game, like we said, but the fact that we held this guy to negative yardage in any context is a good sign, and that was very exciting in terms of the Seahawks defense and their ability.
Yeah.
I'm sure that as soon as they saw Ashton Jeanty on the field, they were like, okay, they're going to give him the ball. He's going to run. So they just kind of pounced on that one. But my main thing that I want to talk about, or main couple things, are Torrey Horton and Elijah Arroyo, just them being able to get on the field and seeing how they were able to move within the Seahawks offense. Torrey Horton has been pretty exciting. I think he and Valdez-Scantling are competing for that number 3 wide receiver spot right now. And the fact that he was able to get out there, 3 receptions, 31 yards, a touchdown, like he had a really good day. Elijah Arroyo, just really solid, 2 catches for 14 yards, 2 targets. Like that's something that I look at that and I think this team wants to build around those guys. And so that's just really exciting to see in terms of the rooks getting out there and getting some play.
Yeah, Horton was definitely the offensive gem of the day. There's no doubt about that. And that's very exciting because they need a little help, I think, in the depth chart, especially when you're counting on guys like Cooper Kupp with deep injury histories. So hopefully he gets some run. The one other thing I wanted to note, you were talking about the dominant defensive performance, particularly regarding the rush. They completely controlled the line of scrimmage. But 2 interceptions as well on the day. Josh Jobe and Nehemiah Pritchett both got picks on the day. So their defense was firing on all cylinders again until they basically, put the wives and girlfriends in there at the end. But
the Wags.
The Wags. It really spoke to the depth of this Seahawks defense. Man, I would hate to be another NFC West offense this year because this defense is top heavy, talented, and also very deep. So I guess top heavy is not the right word. It's got some high-end talent and some amazing depth to it. So I just think they're going to be a bear all year long, and this was very encouraging.
Another quick note. Just want to say this real quick. Michael Dixon, 4 punts, 222 yards on those 4 punts, a long of 77. That's an insane stat line for a punter. If I could have him on my fantasy team, I would pick him up immediately. We'll have a fantasy podcast sometime soon, but I just wanted to shout out our boy.
But only rank punters.
highest value punter definitely in the NFL right now. So we got to keep him on watch.
You hear a lot about PPR, but not a lot about PPP. Points per punt. Our boy would be right up there near the top.
Yeah. Anything else to say? Seahawks' next preseason game is, hold on, let me pull it up, is against Kansas City on Friday. So that is going to be exciting. We'll see what they do. I think the Seahawks will try and work Torrey Horton in there more. One note that we didn't really touch on is he had 7 targets. He had 4. I don't know if they were drops or if they were just kind of misses by the quarterback. I don't remember what those are called off the top of my head. But it depends on where those were. But I think they were really trying to target him. 7 targets is quite the high number. They're really testing him against these NFL caliber guys. So we will see what they do as they kind of ramp up the team even more. If he kind of takes less targets or takes more, or what they do with him versus MVS, we'll see. But that's the thing to look for, I think, right now in Jalen Milroe and just how he competes. So those are my things to watch.
They were peppering him. A lot of that was under Milroe too. I think Milroe just felt really comfortable putting the ball in his direction. I love seeing those early relationships develop. If Milroe ends up getting the job in year 2 or year 3, having a guy that he's really comfortable with in the offense will be big.
Yep. All right. Are you ready to talk Mariners baseball?
Let's do it. Let's dive in. So many positive things to say. Well, where do you want to start?
I think we just immediately start off. First of all, we're recording this as the game against the Orioles. The second game against the Orioles got postponed, so we would love to have some instant reactions for you. Or I guess, actually, it resumed. Never mind. Sorry. Top second, runner on second base for the Mariners. That's looking great. They've won 8 straight. We didn't lead with that, and that's my fault. The Mariners have won 8 straight games, and 10 of their last 11. They beat Texas in the series 3-1, swept the White Sox, swept the Rays, currently have 1 game on the Orioles. It's been a really good stretch of baseball for the Mariners, and it feels like not even everything is firing on all cylinders, which is really something to say about how the team has lengthened its lineup, how the team has been pitching. We've held opposing teams. The most runs anybody has scored against us is the White Sox in that 8-6 game where we kind of just let Logan Evans cook for a little bit. So I think all things considered, it has been a very, very great stretch by our pitching staff, and the offense has been basically 3 runs a game, 4 runs a game, with a couple, 7s and 8s spread out in there. Probably up to 5, actually. But I was looking at that 1-0 win against the Orioles and got distracted. What are your thoughts? It's been just a really fun week of baseball. We didn't really get to talk about it last week because it was kind of the start of it. Just give me those thoughts. Give me your opinions, hot takes.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I think The pitching has stepped up, which is nice. We've seen some of our top guys start to rise. I'm sure we'll touch on that later in the pod. But the relief has been better than expected as we incorporate Jake Ferguson and deal with the loss of Spire. But, I just want to say one thing. That 6-8, that 8-6 win, that was Kirby pitching during that game. It was Bizzardo who got raked in extras and gave up 3.
That's what it was. I was watching the highlights of that one the next day, and I was like, man, Bizzardo did not have his best performance.
Yeah, Evans has been up and down for sure, but that was one of the Kirby games, which we'll talk about, so I have to explain how 6 runs were scored. That's on Bizzardo. But it's been great. I think what it's really been, though, is timely offense and timely pitching. It's been guys showing up when they're really needed. I mean, in that White Sox series where we gave up 3-6 and 3 runs, so pretty high-scoring games, we scored, 16? We scored 20 runs in 3 games. So the offense was just cooking. So we were able to step up for some, middling pitching. And then the Orioles game yesterday, 1-0 win. It's okay when the offense isn't there. We need Kirby to throw a gem, and that's exactly what he did. So, you can only string together 8 straight wins in professional baseball if you get a little lucky. But I've been really liking the balance. And man, again, in a lot of group texts with Mariners fans that, people are throwing 2001, throwing it around quite a bit. And that might sound kind of crazy, but we have not had this level of starting pitching and this deep and talented of a lineup since 2001. Obviously, we're not there, but that's the last time you could say a team is better on those 2 sides of the ball than this team. So it's been amazing. And it's also been really nice watching the Red Sox do everything for us against the Astros, winning 4 out of 5. We'll see how the game today goes, but they've really been our ally as we've chased this team down.
Yeah, Red Sox won 14-1 yesterday, so that was an exciting game for us Mariners fans. Really just want to put them out of their misery, get them out of that top spot. No, the Mariners being able to catch up to the Astros right now, as it currently stands, they're tied in the AL West standings. We'll see how that is at the end of the day, but it feels really great to see that Astros are actually not playing even that bad of baseball, right? They've kind of been 500 for the last few series, but the Mariners are just kind of on fire, and I think you buried the lead a little bit there in terms of how this lineup and the trade deadline really coalesced in a way that let Dan Wilson cook with this lineup. Like Randy Arozarena is batting leadoff every single game, and it feels like he gets on base twice. I feel like that's just his consistent thing right now. He's really found a groove, and we won't even really talk about him during Floaters and Flounderers, but he's been really, really solid. Julio not having to carry the weight of that 1-2 spot with Cal batting second, it's opened the lineup up in a real way. Josh Naylor, the on-base machine, batting fourth, and just moving those guys along when they're able to get on base because they have so much slugging is just really cool to see how the lineup really formed. JP was batting first for the last half a season basically, and now he's batting eighth, and it feels so much more natural. He's also regressed a little bit from his 280 to 290 batting average, but the way that they unlocked the lineup with the trade deadline is very, very pleasant to see, and it's obviously paid dividends when it comes to this offense and the runs that they're scoring. So, really had to shout that out.
I'm not even certain that this is the optimized lineup. I think JP being 8th and Cole being 9th with Randy leading off, I think there's some tweaks there that can tighten this up a little bit. But yeah, you can't argue with the results. Since they've set this lineup, the offense has been completely dynamic. Julio batting third has been huge. I do love the Randy-Cal combination. I think I might just like an at-bat in front of them. As crazy as it sounds, if Naylor continues to be the on-base machine that he's been, there's a real argument to move him up to first, to lead off. And if he's leading off, then you probably move JP down to 9th, which does it weakens that stretch a little bit when you have Polanco, Canzone, Cole Young. So a little bit weaker in that stretch. But then going JP, Naylor, on-base machines, followed by Randy, Cal, Julio, that's a pretty frightening a stretch of batters there. So I'm not here to fix what isn't broken, but so far so good.
Yeah, it's been so pleasant. And we haven't really talked about Jorge Polanco a ton recently, but he's been very, very good. And really feels like a threat in the bottom of this lineup, especially you were saying like a bottom three of Polanco, Canzone, and Young. That's like Canzone has been hitting 300 with slug. Like that's a really solid bottom three of the lineup if that's really the case. So I think either way, we're looking at a lineup that just feels a lot more intact. And you've got like a day like today where you've got Dylan Moore playing in right field, like he's your 9-hitter. And yeah, he's been really bad, but overall, like Dylan Moore being your worst hitter is not the worst thing you can throw out on this field, especially when you look at the Orioles, who've got 3 guys batting below 200 in the bottom 4 spots of their order, along with Ryan Noda, who is batting 114 and really, really doing the most on the field there.
It's not our issue, man. Our starting lineup, our normal, healthy starting lineup, we're worried about guys batting under 250. That's our concern. So, it's amazing. All my dreams have come true. Christmas is early. And yeah, even a guy like Dylan Moore, he's been awful. He's in the coldest of cold stretches. But he's had hot stretches where we've had him floating before. And when he was
like the April player of the week or something at one point, right?
Yeah.
He was so good this year.
When he's getting spot minutes as the 9-hitter on this team, I could kiss him on the cheek. I love him in that role. If he continues to get no hits, so be it. But like that's a perfectly acceptable role for a guy his talent. So, no issues there at all. I'm giddy. I'm giddy with this stretch.
I will say they are really trying to get Dylan Moore going. I think he's had a negative 35 WRC plus over the last 2 months. So it has been not the best stretch for Dylan Moore. But this is how you get him going. You put him spot shots in that 9-hole, and you just let him get it figured out slowly over time. Because Cole Young's been really solid. Like this team has been really good. Yeah. Let's get into floaters and flounderers, unless you got anything else to say.
No, that's good. I can save it for the end.
Okay. Let me start us off, and I am going to start us off with. It sucks. I've got two flounderers today, and even though we've been on an 8-game win streak, I'm going to talk 2 flounderers, and it's because we expect more from these guys. Cal Raleigh. We didn't really talk about it that much in the month of July because of the All-Star break, and we were both away and things like that. Cal Raleigh in the month of July batted 194 with on base at 283 and a slug of 484. So he was slugging. He hit 9 home runs in the month of July. Still a 767 OPS. But in the month of August, since we've gotten back, we didn't get to talk about it last week, but since we've gotten back, he's got a batting average of 125, an on base of 222, and a slug of 350. He's hit a few home runs. He's had a stretch recently where he's hit 3 home runs in the last 4 games, and he had 3 home runs against Tampa Bay in one each game. But his OPS is 572. It has dwindled from about 1.05 in kind of late June. It's all the way down to 938 right now for the season. So he's definitely struggling right now, and you can see it. He's kind of all or nothing when it comes to his hits right now. He's basically hitting a home run or nothing else. He's under a lot of stuff, and I don't know that anybody's had the discussion on if the home run derby affected his swing at all, but we saw this with Julio a couple of years back when he did the home run derby. He kind of got under a lot of pitches and was able to get it sorted out. But that is one thing that I'm a little concerned about is Cal has gone all in on the home runs a little bit more than he was, where he was going a little bit more doubles heavy, more line drives. Or is this opposing pitching figuring out how to go at Cal Raleigh for the first time this season, and we're seeing him have to work through some issues? Like, I don't really know. I haven't been paying attention to how people have been pitching him, but we'll definitely see how he adjusts and if he's able to adjust as this season goes along in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I think a couple fair points there. I would say the one reason we didn't really talk about his month of July at all, batting 200, 9 home runs in the month is still awesome. And, he hit, 4 of those home runs over the course of the last 3 series, I guess really the last 2 series. And, he was chasing down the record for most home runs ever before the All-Star break. He's tied, I believe, right? He tied Barry Bonds for the most home runs ever by any player before the All-Star break, which, by the way, Barry Bonds was definitely juicing. So
I think the other thing to note from that was that the All-Star break was earlier in the season, so they played less games at that point. But yes, I think that is still the case.
Back in the day, they played less games. That makes sense because he's not going to come close to the 72 or whatever. That's an excellent point, Tyler. But anyway, him chasing down that record and ending up getting past it was so exciting. I think people were just looking at the home run swings. And then yeah, to start the month of August, slump for sure. He had 2 hits in his first, 2, 4, 6, 7 games. So he was really feeling the bottom of the barrel. Some of that's post All-Star, not surprising at all for a guy that was playing all out the way that he was. I get what you're saying about him being a little home run heavy. I would say he is coming out of his slump. We're probably a week late on this floundering call. He's got 3 home runs in his last 4 games. But those are his 3 hits in the last 4 games. To your point, it has literally been all or nothing. In his last 5 outings, he's registered 3 hits and 3 home runs. So whether or not we need to get him to chill out a little bit and play it a little more safe is something to be talked about. But also with this lineup being better and more able to get guys on bases for him, maybe the coaching staff is like, Cal, keep gripping it and ripping it, man. What we need you for here is slugging. He's now batting, I guess, second. So again, maybe another argument to move him down the lineup a spot would be that, yeah, his job is to not get on base. His job is to score 2 runs, 10% of the time. So, yeah, there's definitely a discussion to be had with Cal. I think he's probably the most controversial of these flounderers, but well said, and we had to call him out because the start of his month was as bad as it could be.
Let me throw one more wrench in the discussion on Cal. He's struck out 19 of his 40 plate appearances so far in August. It's been his strikeout percentage on the season, I think, was hovering around like 24, 25, and he's been struggling with that recently. I think he had a game where he struck out 5 times against the Rangers, and in the 4-game stretch, he had 12 strikeouts. So he's just, I don't know if he's been under everything, if he's been in front of everything because people are throwing him off speeds, and he's kind of been dialed in on first pitch fastballs. And he did say that was his kind of approach earlier on in the season. So maybe people have been kind of dialed in on, hey, let's throw him an off speed early, get a strike, get us ahead in the count, and then he's kind of on the back foot the rest of the AB, and that's just maybe caused him some issues. I don't know, but I wanted to call that out because his approach, he definitely talked about it early in the season. It was made public, and so in that way, pitchers might have adjusted, and the game plan has probably changed a little bit. He's always been a little strikeout prone, but 19 out of 40 is quite the high total.
Super high, and yeah, if you look at his month-by-month strikeouts, he's been fairly consistent. 31 in April, 31 in May, 22 in June, which was obviously him just mashing in June, and then 32 in July. So he's on average, 30 a month is pretty typical. He's on pace for about 40. So yeah, definitely over what we want to see from him there. Tons of room for positive regression from Cal. Other than his slugging, which is still quite good, tons and tons of room for him to get better.
It's all you, man.
All right, that was a lot on Cal. The rest of these will be quicker. That one, there was just a kind of a back and forth on that one. We got to talk about our man, the recently acquired Mr. Hardly Knower himself, Josh Naylor. He has been unbelievable in a Mariners jersey, quickly becoming one of the fan favorites on this Mariners team. People love him. He's a little heavy, but he's stealing bases. He's just doing it all for this team. He was batting .232 in the month of July. Some of that obviously was with the Mariners, but that was largely with the Diamondbacks. Probably part of the reason he got traded. Since coming to the Mariners in the month of August, batting .333 with .412 slugging and 1145 OPS. Absolutely monstrous from him. He's got 10 hits in the month, including 3 doubles and 3 home runs. He's been doing it all offensively, man. 10 of 35 at bats. He's been a stud.
There's really not much else to say other than he's been a stud. The guy's got 4 strikeouts in the month. Like we were just talking about how Cal has 19. Like that the fact that he's just able to put the ball in play more gives him that much more BABIP luck. Everybody knows about that. But I think the real thing is the slugging. Like he really didn't have as much slugging as he's shown. Throughout the course of this season, it's been hovering between, 350 to 450 in that range, kind of crept towards 500 at one point. But in this stint with the Mariners, he's got a slugging of 733. Like he's just been more of a power hitter, and a lot of that could come from the fact that T-Mobile Park itself is actually a left-handed hitter's ballpark. Like, it plays better for a left-handed hitter, and so his power probably plays better than another guy that we're going to talk about in the next one. But yeah, so we're just seeing almost just a benefit of a guy hitting at T-Mobile Park, which you would never see or would have never thought you would see, especially given all of the discussion before this season about how T-Mobile Park is like a pitcher's paradise and hitters go there to die in the offseason or as free agents. It's like, this is the rare case, super rare case of the Mariners actually kind of striking oil here and getting a guy who's come in and been electric immediately. So really wanted to shout him out. He's been really good.
Yeah. 5 home runs with the Mariners. That's a third of his season total in this short stretch with the Mariners. And again, we saw the room. As soon as we acquired him, you and I talked about the room for positive regression with his slugging. He hit 31 home runs last year. This is a guy more than able to generate some slugging, and he just wasn't doing it. But what's been so impressive is since he's come, the slugging has jumped through the roof, while his average has stayed exactly where it is. He's 291 on the season, and he's basically been a 291 hitter with the Mariners. He's 90th percentile in expected batting average. So this is an elite on-base guy who's also generating, plus slugging. It's just, he's just awesome. And you know what I will say? This version of Josh Naylor offensively is, Julio needs to be watching this tape every day. Because honestly, this is what Julio would be like essentially at his best, where he probably loses. We would like to think Julio's peak is higher than 31 home runs in a season. But if he can surrender a little bit of that slugging, keep his natural power, and focus on being an on-base machine, that is what, all-star, awesome Julio Rodriguez looks like to me.
Yeah, and another note, Josh Naylor just as a player, K percentage of 13.8, he's in the 88th percentile. Like, the guy's just, like, if Julio could take a fraction of that, it would be so beneficial for just his ability to get on base specifically, more walks, all that kind of stuff. But he just needs to be able to put the ball in play more. And whenever he can solve that slider away issue, whenever that happens, whatever he needs to do, it's going to change. As a Mariners fan, it's going to change just my life. It's gonna be so good. This franchise is gonna explode when Julio is able to hit sliders away or lay off sliders away.
But the fact that we're saying Julio needs to be more like a 5'10", 235-pound guy named Josh tells you everything you need to know about how awesome Josh Naylor has been. So props to him. Had to shout him out. One of my favorites. The Naylor jersey is coming.
Nice. Love to hear that. All right, I'm gonna take my flounder. I have to be the negative Nancy on the stream, or not on the stream, on the podcast today. We have to talk about Gino, guys. We have to. He's a lovely guy, great vibes, but he hit that 1 home run and has done basically nothing else. He's batting .081 in the month of August, and he played 1 game with Seattle in the month of July and went 1 for 4. So in general, he's hitting like about 100 with the Mariners, an on base of 125, a slug of 162 for a 287, a balmy 287 OPS, and it's just been tough. It's been tough to watch because he's chasing. He's kind of he's getting fooled is something that I don't think we saw a lot from Gino, and there is something to be said about him moving ballparks and having been so hot in Arizona in the ballpark move and the batter's eye in T-Mobile that everybody's always talked about. It's like, these are things that maybe at this point you see and you're like, oh, this could actually be an issue for a guy like Gino who made a stance adjustment last year and was able to get ahead and kind of get in front of pitches and produce more pull power. And now he's got to kind of readjust how he sees the ball and how, wherever a pitch is coming out of the pitcher's hand, whatever he's got to do to adjust that. He had adjusted for the Arizona Diamondbacks ballpark, and now he's got to figure out how to hit in T-Mobile again. And I will say, he's played in, 11 games total with the Mariners, and 10 of those were at T-Mobile Park. So there is something to be said for him, maybe just giving him a little bit more time to marinate in this Seattle Mariners team, because we know he's a great guy. We know he can produce offensively, but we just want to give him some more time. We're not trying to overreact, but we just have to have this discussion because it has been pretty bad so far.
Oh, it's been awful. No, 100%. He's been I'm still so glad he's on the field every time. He's the ultimate locker room guy. I love seeing him out there, waving towels and just being an awesome teammate. A beloved Mariner, right back into the locker room and right back into everybody's heart. So still doing that. But yeah, he's been awful. Basically a non-factor offensively. This is coming from a guy that had 21 home runs in the months of June and July, and only one so far in his 11 games with the Mariners. So his slugging is completely dropped off a cliff. He's having trouble finding the ball. But, the argument would be that he could not have picked a better time to slump like this, because the team's won 8 straight. They've won 8 of those 11 games in which he's been absolute booty. They've actually won 9 because they've won 9 of their last 11. So great time for him to be this bad. Hopefully he can turn it around. The other good news is maybe this is going to be good for the Mariners, because if he got to 50 home runs this year, the odds of us being able to afford to re-sign him are going to be pretty slim. But if we can keep him in the mid-40s, maybe that'll make the negotiating a little easier. So maybe we're sacrificing a little now for another couple of years of Gino.
He's ruining it, man. He got a single against the Orioles in the second inning. So
I'll hate to see it.
Can't allow that. Can't let this guy get on base. No, he's been just very fun to have for this team, and I'm like you said, I'm glad he's here. I really appreciate Gino as a dude, as a locker room presence. You saw in the first Orioles game yesterday, you saw Munoz struggling, and Gino was there helping him communicate with the coaches and everything. Like, this is a guy who immediately stepped in and was like, I can do whatever is needed for me as a leader in this clubhouse. So really, really love Gino. We just wanted to shout out how bad he's been.
Yeah. Well, and I think another good thing to note is that it's been a really exciting 3 weeks for Mariners baseball, not just for the fans, but for the players. There's been a lot of stuff about how pumped a lot of these, a lot of guys like Cal are, but I'm sure Gino, to be able to come back to Seattle, where he's had, so much success and gotten so much love, and be on a team that is flaming hot, now tied for the division lead. Fans are packing the stadium every single game. Everyone's so pumped about what this team can be. That's awesome, but it's also, for guys like Cal and guys like Gino, who are grip it and rip it machines, keeping their BPMs down is really important for them to be successful. So I wouldn't be surprised if part of it, too, is, just a little bit of excitement about everything that's happening. As things cool down, as this fit team, kind of finds their rhythm, I expect both of them to really round into form. We might already be seeing it from Cal.
Yeah, 100%. I get behind you on that one. All right, let's talk one more floater. What do you got for me?
We're taking too much time. I'm so excited I can't stop myself. I'm going to talk about my boy, the resurgent one, Mr. Smash himself, George Kirby. He has been back in such a real way, and I think he got kind of a tentative floating maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, but it's time for a true floating for our boy. He has gotten wins in his last 4 starts. He's gone at least 6 innings in his last 5, and in his last 4 starts, he's given up a total of 4 earned runs. So he's been awesome. It's been, the Rangers are the only above 500 team on that list of those last 4 games, but there's something to be said about coming in and taking care of business when it's needed. He's got a .77 whip in the month of August. A 1.38 ERA in the month of August. Obviously just 2 starts there, but his advanced numbers are starting to really round into form. His fastball run value is up to 91st percentile. His general pitching run value is up to 85th. He's been really, really good, and he's been awesome at generating innings for a team that needs a little relief on the bullpen. So there's just a lot of great things to be said about Mr. George right now.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for how he's done it, right? His whip is still at 1.07. He's kind of reduced the walks a little bit, but he's actually definitely up in terms of how many people he's walking in the season, right? The last couple of years, he was at 2.5 in 2023 and 3.0 in terms of walk percentages. In 2025, he's up to 5.8. He's also been able to strike out more hitters, right? In 2023, it was 22.7. 2024, it was 23.0. Now he's up to 26.3. He's traded a little bit of that control and command for just more dynamic pitches when it comes to strikeouts. He's willing to go outside the zone. I think you saw it yesterday. The one that I'm thinking of specifically was an Adley Rutschman strikeout with a runner on second base, and the Mariners kind of in a little bit of a jam in a 1-0 ball game. George Kirby goes to, in a 3-2 count against Adley Rutschman, he goes to the slider kind of at the back foot, and Rutschman swings right over it. But that's a ball, and I think George Kirby in years before is not as comfortable doing that as he is now, with just how he's kind of come back and how he's figured out how to pitch again, since he had a little bit of a delayed start to this season. So I've really enjoyed watching George Kirby kind of elevate his game in a different way than I think anybody expected. Everybody expected him to just come back and be the kind of same guy that he's always been. But the way that he's pitching right now, if he can continue this, he'll bring his ERA back to where it's been the last couple of years, and maybe even below that if he can keep it going longer. So he's really working himself into a favorable position in terms of just how we're looking at this guy going forward. And if the Mariners are going to pay him a bunch, he can continue doing this, and I would be very excited.
Okay, yeah. So just something interesting on that too is, obviously Bryce Miller, may be coming back this season, which would be exciting, but it's been kind of the four-headed monster so far this year, and obviously, Brian Wu has been our ace so far on the year, but okay, so two things. One, I looked up Brian Wu's stats. Don't look them up. I looked them up because I wanted to just compare the last four. Brian Wu's given up 11 earned runs in his last 4 outings, which is, not bad at all. We love that for him. But I was just going to ask, for one game tomorrow, would you rather have Wu or Kirby? Are you taking consistency with Wu, or are you taking the high end that we've seen so far with Kirby?
I would probably still take Wu, just because Kirby hasn't proved enough to me yet. I think he's a couple starts away from being, I think, the number 3 pitcher on this Mariners team, with Gilbert still as my number 1. I think he's just the ceiling on Gilbert, and the consistency for him is just better than anybody else that I can think of right now. But it's really a battle between Wu, Kirby, and Castillo. Castillo's been discreetly pretty good as well. But yeah, I think I would take Wu right now, just because he's gone literally 6 innings in every single start this season except for 1, I believe. Literally every start this season. You
ruined it. That was the second point I was going to bring up. I can't believe you knew that off the top of your head. Yeah, all respect to Gilbert. Gilbert's clearly our actual best pitcher if I had to pick one to keep. But this season, I think he's number 3. I think Wu, and with what Kirby's been doing recently, if we were playing in Game 7 of the World Series tomorrow, he would be my 3rd choice behind those two right now.
Yeah.
Obviously the most talented, but yeah, I was just going to bring that up about Wu. How insane is that? I was going to ask you, when's the last time this season he didn't make a full 6 innings? And I was going to get you that the answer was never.
None.
How insane is that he's made it 6 every single game? That's wild.
It's crazy. That is actually crazy right now.
Yeah, it's insane. But all right. That's probably enough Kirby talk. I just wanted to shout him out. The Prince has returned. He's my favorite jersey in the closet right now, and it's nice to be able to wear it with pride.
Yeah, I will give one more shout out to Luis Castillo. He's been Mr. Consistent in terms of this season. He's just been really, really solid, right? An ERA in July of 2.05, currently in August 3.18. He had 7 innings against the Rays. He went 4.1 against the Rangers. Sorry, I almost said the Red Sox. 4.1 innings against the Rangers earlier in the month. But I think that was just he came out due to number of pitches and just kind of the situation that was going on at that time. Castillo's been really good, and I think it can't be understated how crucial this guy's been for the long term for this team. So I just wanted to give him a little tiny shout out. We don't have to talk about him too much, but he's been
all these guys
are
cooking, man. They're all cooking. Yeah. The fact that we have 4 guys at this level is insane. And also, don't discount. I think a lot of pressure has been taken off the starters' backs with how much better the offense has been playing, both before and after these trades. I think the fact that they can come out and pitch comfortable, knowing that they can count on 4 or 5 runs being scored, has made them better. So it's kind of a cyclical thing of good helping good.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Is that it for the Mariners? We just talked about them for 30 minutes and we didn't even plan on it.
Yeah, that's crazy. One thing about the standings with them chasing down the Astros, obviously currently tied for the division lead. That's awesome. A lot of people talking about how flip-floppy this season's been. Obviously, the Mariners gave up an 11-game lead in a month and a half, and now this is a 1-month stretch in which Houston's given up a 7-game lead. So they're going to have to fight to hold on to it. And again, to your point, the Astros are not playing bad baseball. they have won their last 3 series against teams not named the Red Sox. They've just happened to lose 4 of their last 5 against the Red Sox, and we'll see what happens today. So, again, Astros not playing bad baseball at all, and shout out to our brothers over in Boston for making all of this possible.
Huge. Those young guns, Roman Anthony and Duran and all those guys really putting in the work for us. Down 4-1 right now, but I believe in them. I believe in the Red Sox comeback right now.
They scored 14 yesterday, so I believe in the Bats.
Okay, quick touch on some other Seattle sports. The Sounders, I believe since we last talked, have gone 2-0. They beat, is that Tijuana in the League's Cup? And then
Tijuana de Caliente.
Yeah, and then the LA Galaxy 4-0. We'd love to see that. Anytime the Sounders beat an LA team, we are going to celebrate that on the pod, and maybe we should cheers a beer or something every time. But I feel like that's a mark that we are very happy to see, especially because the Galaxy are at the bottom of the table. Sounders closer, edging just a little bit closer to that number 3 spot in terms of the MLS standings right now. 41 points. They're down 3 to Minnesota United, who is at 44. But they were, I think they were 7 apart or 6 apart.
The gap
last
is
time we
closed.
talked.
The gap is closed. It's because it was a big 3 at the top of the West, and now it's really a big 1. We're only 4 points behind Vancouver for the number 2 slot. So that's certainly in play. They've been playing great. Obviously, the Galaxy suck, but beating up on an LA team is always delicious. And just one other note, they're undefeated so far in the League Cup. They'll play Puebla in the quarterfinals on Wednesday. So, lower-end competition, but they've been doing their job. So, hopefully they can make a fun run in that regard. But, yeah, Minnesota coming up on Saturday. That's going to be a big game. If they are able to win that one by several goals, they'll close the gap with Minnesota for that 3 spot.
Yeah. For sure. No, excited for the Sounders. I feel like they're rounding into form at just kind of the perfect time. This is about the time when they're going to get into their playoff gear, and I feel like they always do this, where they kind of turn it on towards the middle and end, and they've really found their stride. So happy for those guys. I want you to talk about the Storm here, by the way. Yeah. I don't want to touch this right now.
No, I got it. But I'll just last thing on the Sounders. They're tied for the fewest losses in the West. So. Just shout out to them. Obviously, it's been the draws. They're tied for the most draws. So it's been, again, the defense keeping game scores low, and that leads to a lot of draws. But this is not a team that loses a lot of matches. So hopefully they can keep it up.
Yep.
All right. The Seattle Storm are in the midst of kind of a baffling 5-game losing streak. Losses in the last week to the Aces and the Sparks. They have lost those 5 games by combined 17 points. Now, 17 sounds like a lot, but that's 5 games. That's 3.4 points per loss. That's
nice
3.4. Yeah, I'm good at these things. 3.4 point differential in the 5 losses. So they have dropped. They plummeted from 3rd all the way down to 5th in the Western Conference. They are now at 500, and yet I'm still just not feeling very reactionary, because they could easily be 5-0 in the last 5, and that would put them in 2nd in the West. So it's tough and it's confusing, but what they need to do is just clean things up down the stretch, of this season. And, they're now in a spot where they're going to have to fight for a playoffs position, but this is a team that competes with everybody. So I believe in their ability to do that. I'm trying not to overreact. They're playing close games.
Yeah, I think the other thing about that is they've been really letting Dominique Malonga kind of out onto the court and in a real way, right? She's played 30 minutes in the last game, 25, 17, and 21. She's getting a lot
That's
more
awesome.
run. Yeah, and in that time, she's scored 22 points, or 20 points, 22 points, 12 points, and 12 points. She's really picking up the pace here. She's averaging 6.5 points per game on the season. But this last stretch, even though they've been losses, these are good quality losses for a team that's trying to build a young core as well. And in those last 2 games, right, she had 11 rebounds and 12 rebounds respectively. So it's been a really efficient stretch. She's shooting basically 75% from the field, 72-ish in total from the last 4. But it's been kind of remarkable to see her elevation in a real way over the last few weeks. So that's just something to point out.
It's also, again, I think this team is good enough to compete with anybody. So if they missed the playoffs, I'd be very bummed. But we can't forget that, that's what we drafted her number 2 overall. Like, she should be, her and Nyeka should be the cornerstones of this team for the next couple of years. Obviously, we re-signed Nyeka, so that's a big deal too. But yeah, seeing her get more run and average like 14 points a game over her last 2, 4, 6, 8 games, it's been awesome. She's been so much more consistent, so talented out there. She's shooting the ball super efficiently. So I'm just excited for the Malanga Renaissance, and hopefully some of these close games start being wins.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Anything else to say about any sports before I get out of here, because the fire alarm in the building across from me is going off right now?
No, that's perfect timing.
All right, then before I do that, I do want to give a quick shout out to college football. College football starts up in a little over 3 weeks, right? 3 weekends from now, college football is rolling around, and Labor Day weekend will be exciting. UW plays Colorado State, and Wazoo, who do they play? I looked at it just now, and I forgot. Wazoo plays Idaho. That's actually going to be a big game. So, going to be fun. College football starting up about the same time that the NFL starts up. So you and I will have our fantasy football draft soon, and we'll talk all things about that. We'll start talking smack to each other a little bit more. But we're getting excited for football even while the Mariners and the MLB has really picked up for us. So it's just an exciting sports time. It's so good to be a Seattle sports fan right now.
September, I'm not sure how we're going to do it all in September, man. I'm worried.
All right. Well, for John Carey, I'm Tyler Cartwright, and this has been the Sound Up Seattle podcast. If you enjoyed this episode of Sound Up Seattle, please feel free to give us a follow, drop a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff on YouTube. You can find us also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening. You can find us also on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Sound Up Seattle, all lowercase, all one word. Email us questions, comments, concerns at soundupseattle@gmail.com. John will answer those personally, so make sure that you're really talking directly to him. And you can find me, Tyler, at TyCart50 everywhere it's important. You can find John.
Trying to train this puppy to stop chewing on all my cords, man. I swear. Bad time to be a cord in my house. So if anybody has notes, any puppy notes, please send them in the email. I'll take any advice I can get.
My cat is just constantly chewing on my Crocs whenever they're available. It's a battle to get these animals to stop chewing our things.
It's unbelievable, man.
All right. With all that being said, gotta be a go Nerds, baby.
Go Nerds. Big time. Let's go.